Before we start today's video, guys, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to cop your official copy of Mike the PI's Quick Guide for Empowering Black Men to Travel More, written by yours truly, available in paperback form, as well as ebook, available on Amazon.com. If you look at the description, the link in the description there below, you'll see the copy of the book. Make sure you go get your copy. Definitely one hell of a read. Let's go ahead and get into today's video, sponsored by myself. Hey, good doc back again once again. Let's lock in. It's officially been about 3 months since I brought my wife here to the United States, and I just want to talk about the experience, y'all. Share it with you guys. If you want me to keep doing this after you hear this video, talk about it from the 3.3-month standpoint. Maybe I could do it again another 3 months at the 6-month standpoint. If you care, I'll be glad to do it. Just sharing in my experience being a brother who has actually jumped the broom, but actually brung his wife with him to the United States all the way from a foreign country. Now, this is a different type of video for the good doc, man. I don't really put these particular videos out in reference to my personal life, but I'll be glad to let you guys in on a little bit of it because I think it's, it's helpful. It's just something that I've learned, some things that I think other people can benefit from, and we can go ahead and lock in. So first things first, let me tell you what my wife has told me is a little bit different about being here in the United States as opposed to being in the Philippines. Now, first things first, she said it's hotter here. We in the great state of North Kakalaki, of course, but she said it's hotter here than it is in the Philippines. I didn't necessarily recognize it because, again, when it's hot, especially in the Philippines because it's hot year round, but it's true. The humidity over there is a little bit different than, being over here where the heat is somewhat dry. It's like a dry ass heat. So I can see where she could get that from. Of course, almost immediately, she recognized the price difference in buying certain things and stuff. She's like, damn, babe, if we were in the Philippines, we could buy like 3 of these for the price of 1 of these, right? So she immediately recognized that. And also, we really didn't have a car when we were in the Philippines. For a period of time, we had access to a car. But, being able to drive around and not having to take public transportation, of course, is also one of the main things that she's recognized. She's like, yeah, man, we can get around a whole lot easier having a car. Now, let's go ahead and get into it because I think I just want to talk about it from the perspective of how life was before we got married. Many people don't know that me and my young lady have known each other for a very long time. We've actually lived together for a period of time. To me, getting married was nothing more than a formality. To me, getting married was nothing more than her just getting my last name. Because I felt as though there were very few things that my young lady can reveal to me right now that I didn't already know about her dating her for the many years that we were actually together. Now, one of the biggest, I don't want to call it challenges, but one of the things that was really intricate in the decision making to get married, right? I want you guys to understand this, right? My life is not like the 90 Day Fiancé show, but it's somewhat like the 90 Day Fiancé show, right? From both sides, right? From her mom and my dad and my mom on my side and everything, and we're having conversations. There was always the conversation of, are you really ready to get married, right? I want you guys to understand something. I'm the youngest in my immediate family, youngest son. I got an older brother, my mom and my dad, and if you extend that a little bit, got my stepmom, and other people on that side of the family. But in reality, you got to understand, everybody's going to naturally have their apprehensions, right? Everybody's going to be like, are you really ready to get married? Or is this really something that you really want? And, are you sure you're ready? You're always going to have that natural questioning of whether you're ready or not. Now, again, I want you guys to understand, you guys should know this, living in a modern era, understanding the way people think sometimes everybody's thought process is negative and all that stuff. And they think that, it's just going to be downhill once you say I do and stuff like that. And not to mention that prior to me getting married, there were some bad relationships that have happened within my family dealing with, Asian women and stuff like that. It's a mess. But, prior to that, you're always going to have people that are going to ask you questions. Are you really ready? Are you sure this is what you want? And for me, it was somewhat like, okay, this is me having to convince them this is what I really want. This is what we really want, right? So that was kind of what I would consider to be a challenge, having to convince them that this is something that I'm really good for. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm sweating. Give me a second. Like I said, it was convincing everybody that I was actually ready. Not to mention, having a YouTube channel for as long as I did, sharing my experiences living abroad and, talking about the conversation of bringing your Filipina to the United States and all of that shit. Everybody gonna be like, yo, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And in reality, for a lot of people, especially if you're older, right? If you're older and retired, I would never tell you to bring your Filipina to your home country. If you live in the United States like I do, don't ever bring your Filipina to the United States if you're older. You understand? Because you've already done everything you needed to do in the United States. So unless you don't plan on leaving the United States, there's no legit reason to bring her here unless you don't plan on leaving. But if you plan on living a life abroad, there's no legit reason to bring her here unless you just want to visit, right? If it's just a temporary period of time, meet the family or whatever, cool. But to live here, no. I bring my wife here because I wanted us to build something together. Right? It would have been easy to try to live a life in the Philippines and you do a nomadic job or whatnot. But in reality, I want us to be able to build something here. Right? I'm not against living in the United States. Granted, I don't agree with everything that goes on here. I do believe that there is a money opportunity here. And unless things change and unless I can completely digitally nomadic my lifestyle and live abroad, chances are I'm going to be here for just a little bit longer. And while I'm here, I'd rather have somebody build something with me. So for me, that's one of the main reasons why I'm really big on, having my young lady here, having my wife here, and being able to build something with her. That's the only reason I brought her here. But if you don't plan on doing any of that shit and you just plan on bringing her here and leaving her in the house, don't do it, man. You're not going to win. Like, dead ass, it's just not worth it. It's just a waste of time. She's going to be lonely. She's not going to have anything to do. She's just going to wait for you to come home every day. And she's not going to have a life. And, unless your girl's a homebody and she likes being at home, not really big on the social aspect, it's just going to be hard for her to be able to adjust when all she does is spend all of her time in the house 24/7. So if that's all you're going to do with your wife, I would recommend you just leave them where they're at. If you want to continue supporting them, your young lady, your girlfriend or whatever, if you want to continue supporting them, cool. But just keep sending money, but let her live her life overseas, because bringing her here and not letting her do anything is not going to be beneficial, right? I've seen a lot of people go through some really hard times because their young lady is always asking them to do stuff after they're tired, after they come home a long day of work and shit. Like, everybody just like, yo, I'm tired, don't want to do shit. But she want to do shit and you don't want to do shit. It becomes an issue, right? So if you're going to bring her here to sit on her ass, it ain't going to do you no favors, right? I'd rather her sit on her ass in the Philippines. At least she got friends or hopefully enjoy somebody. I mean, at that point, I wouldn't necessarily marry her or call her a girlfriend or whatever. Just be somebody I see when I go to the Philippines, with all due respect. Because, again, you don't want to commit yourself to something where you're not going to be with her or you don't have a plan to be with her long term. And you don't know exactly what her plan is or what the plan may be. Also, one of the things that played a major part in deciding whether to get married or not and all of that jazz is, the times are different here. In the modern era, in the modern times, dealing with modern women, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Y'all know that, man. Doc ain't telling you things that you don't know, but it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to contend with. And you have a lot of people, regardless, whether they go to the Philippines, live their best life and all of that shit abroad, they gonna be like, nah, man, I ain't marrying none of these girls, man. I just want to have my fun. I respect that 100%, right? That's life. That's life. And I told my girl before, if me and her don't work out, I told her this a long time ago, if me and her didn't work out, I'm not marrying anybody. I done put a lot of time and invested a lot of energy in this relationship. So if me and her, hypothetically, if something happened and we didn't get married or something happens and we break up, I'm not marrying anybody else. Shit, I done already gave my time, effort, and energy to this person. You think I'm gonna try that shit again? Absolutely not. I'm gonna live my best life. Big facts, all right? So I know a lot of guys that just don't want to get married, right? And that's one of the bigger things, especially at my particular age and younger. A lot of guys, red pill, MGTOW, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's like, yo, I don't want to get married. You shouldn't get married. The system doesn't really support men and all of this stuff. And I get it. But you do have to take into consideration the young lady you're choosing or opting to be in a relationship with long term, right? You got to know your girl, right? You got to know her triggers. 1. Number 2, you got to know when shit's going left. 2, because if you know your girl, you know when shit ain't going right. One thing that I noticed, if shit ain't going right, I know. Because things like there's a gradual shift. You'll see it, right? And if you're not paying attention, that's how most guys get fucked in the ass or they stop caring, right? So again, yes, do you have to, communicate? Do you have to put in the effort and the work and the energy? Yes. If you're not willing to do that, don't fucking do it, right? I don't see the point in you getting married if you're not willing to put in the work. Anybody who's married right now knows that it's going to take an effort. I'm younger than the majority of the guys that are married right now. And I'm telling them, and they know it, and all of my younger brethren, if you want to do it, cool. If you don't want to do it, nobody will judge you over here, right? If you want to live your best life, do so. But if there's one thing that, excuse me, I got to wipe my hair a little bit. But if there's one thing that I can really attest to, and I think is it's really meaningful to an extent, and it may be meaningful to you, it may not, may rock with you, it may get to you, it may not. But if you're a young man and you got your life, you're living your best life, and maybe in the United States you're not doing this, but you're going overseas and you got girls in and out of your house and all of that stuff, and you're dealing with a bunch of different women, it's cool and everything, but there's something about a young lady that makes a house a home. At least here in the United States. In the Philippines, get your little bachelor's pad, have your fun. Don't judge. No judgment, right? But there's something about a young lady that makes a house a home. There's something about after having a long-ass day at work, coming home to a cooked meal by your wife. You know what I'm saying? Warm embrace, little kiss. How was your day, babe? Whatever. Having that conversation. To some people, that shit is meaningful. I'm kind of one of them, right? It's fun to have fun, but ultimately it gets to the point where, when you've had your fun, it's kind of like, all right, let me see about making a house a home, right? A young lady that's taking care of your shit for you when you're out there doing your thing. Now, again, she will be working whenever the green card situation gets taken care of, and at that time, I still believe we'll be able to maintain the same type of interaction. But at this point, that when you come home, young lady waiting for you and shit, right? And, that's a good feeling to have somebody come home to. Maybe that's not meaningful to you. I respect it if it's not. But for me, it's like, okay, I'm going home. I can talk about my day with my wife, see how her day was, see what she did, what she was watching, what she was getting into, and just listen, right? A lot of y'all don't want to deal with talking to women, you know what I'm saying? Most of y'all are like, yeah, we don't pay them to stay, we pay them to leave. If that's your vibe, I'm good. I keep saying that and I keep reiterating that point because I respect it, right? In this day and age, it's just becoming harder for a lot of guys to commit to marriage because they don't want to, right? Marriage is not for everybody, right? Again, I had to convince everybody in my life that I was ready for this. I had to convince everybody in my life that this is okay for me. I'm willing to do it. I wasn't rushing into it because if you knew how long I was with my girl prior to getting here to this point, you'd be like, damn, dog, man, you should have married her ass X amount of time ago. But again, patience is a virtue, man, and it just played out the way that it did. So everything aligned, and we were good to go. We were Gucci. But speaking on it from a 3-month perspective, where we are today, I just think that life itself hasn't changed very much for me. Like who we are as individuals, have we grown together? Absolutely. Do we go through challenges like everybody else? Fuck yeah. But at the end of the day, I know that there's nothing that has come between us that's gonna like fuck up everything for us, right? You try your best to do right, you feel me? Do everything that you need to do to make sure that the energy is kept and you're pouring into your young lady and you're pouring into your relationship. Everything's gonna always be good, right? Not being no beta bitch, you know what I'm saying? You gotta still put your foot down, you gotta be the man, you know what I'm saying? Can't be out here bitching up and shit, and I believe in compromise, but we can't be out here just giving them everything that they want. Because again, that gives them the authority to walk over you. Boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. So for me, what I've said in the last 3 months of this relationship, guys, it's a matter of allowing her to adjust on her own and just being there to help her adjust, right? She likes to do things. She likes to go out, have a little fun every now and again. Where I do live, though, let me say this real quick. Let me wipe my face. It's hot up in here, y'all. Anyways, I just took a shower. That's why my pores are open. But anyway, one thing that I have noticed, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration, but back to school, y'all know some shit real quick, and I'm going to leave it at that. I do believe where you choose to move your young lady makes a major difference. Where you choose to bring her to the United States makes a huge difference. I live in small town North Kakalaki, right? Small town North Kakalaki. If y'all know the military town, you know where I live in North Carolina, right? There's a lot going on, but there's not a lot going on, right? Moving to a major city, big city and shit like that, and, probably like your New Yorks and your Vegases and whatnot, that's a little bit of a different area, different landscape. A lot to do, a lot of shit to get into and stuff like that. Again, like I said, there's enough to do here. There may not be a lot to do, but there's enough to do here, right? But if you move your young lady to these big cities where, they could be blinded by, the lights and the flash and the glamour and the this and the that and all that stuff, they could be heavily influenced by that shit, it may not be beneficial in that regard. I'm not saying that you can help where you choose to move your young lady, because if that's where you live and that's where you make your money, so be it. But being in a small town North Carolina and shit, it's like a humble, just a small town feel, kind of like what Davao was when me and her were living there. And we just kind of have our fun. Every now and again, we'll take a trip up to Raleigh, the major city and whatnot, the capital city, do some things in the downtown area, have some fun. We come back to our little small town and just keep it pushing. Right. And I do believe that makes a difference in the adjustment process, because it's not so much of a culture shock when you move to like a small town feel and shit. As long as you allow them to adjust. One thing I do have to say is you got to prepare them for what they're getting into. Right. Prepare them for what they're getting into. Don't just bring them here and just throw them into some shit. Right. Like I was watching the 90 Day Fiance show. You remember your boy Bilal and Sheeta, if you've ever watched the 90 Day Fiance show. He over here trying to play games with this girl. He's probably on Facebook fucking flashy as hell with his nice cars and his nice ass houses, and then he tries to bring her into this ugly ass white van and then bring her into an old ass house, right? That is a shock, right? You're expecting her to hold you down and shit, but if you don't prepare your young lady for what you're bringing her into, trust me, if you're bringing your young lady into mom's basement, let me say that thoroughly, if you're bringing your young lady into mom's basement, chances are that's not going to be a good look. Unless you tell her, say, look, we're going to move in with my family first and then we're going to move out. If you do that, you'll probably be fine. But don't just throw her into a family setting and she's got to be around family all the time, and that's not something she was prepared for. She thought that you had your own house and all that stuff. Don't do that. That's not fair. Okay, so always make sure you talk it through whenever you choose to make certain moves. Because if you don't tell her where you're moving or what you're doing or where we're going to be living at or this, that, and the other, she gonna come in and, she might not take it the right way. She may be just like looking around like, yo, what the hell is this? This is not what I thought this was gonna be for us in the United States, right? Now, granted, you be like, oh, your bitch need to be humble and all that shit, right? A lot of people may say that, but I do believe that us as men, the people who are actually petitioning and doing all of the fiance visa, K1 visa process, we gotta make sure that our young lady knows what we're working with in the process, so they know what the plan is, right? Because if they don't know the plan and you just bringing them in here and you just throw them into stuff and you don't tell them what's going on or what to do or what you need them to do or what their value is, not necessarily telling them their value, but telling them what you need them to do in order to create or to manifest and make whatever we have popping. If you don't tell them that, guess what's going to happen? She's going to fall apart because she don't know what the fuck is going on. She's just out here looking crazy and stuff, and she's looking at you for answers and you can't give her anything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure you lay out everything that's going to happen so at least she knows. So at least she can prepare for it. So if you do live in a quote unquote, I don't want to be disrespectful, but if you live in a bad neighborhood or a dump or whatever you want to call it, if you're coming from, some means that may not be the greatest at the moment, at least let them know, right? Because you don't want your girl thinking she's going to be moving into a mansion or moving into this big ass house and you bring her into a shit show. That's one thing that I do know. Don't leave them in the dark, right? You don't necessarily got to, well, actually, you have no choice but to divulge your finances. I told y'all that in the video. She don't know how much you get paid because she has to submit the W-2s and all of your paperwork, bank statements, and all that shit to the immigration office there in the Philippines or wherever your home country is. So she's going to know your monies. So you can't really hide it. But at the end of the day, man, if you're comfortable and confident in what you got, you shouldn't let shit bother you. Best thing I can say, you shouldn't let it bother you. All right, that's my little 3-month update, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that I put some knowledge and dropped a couple gems. I know a lot of my guys are gonna be like, "Dot man, fuck that, bro. Leave my girl. I'm leaving my girl over here, right? Wherever she's from, I'm gonna leave her ass over there. All right, but for me, had different purpose, different reasons, different motivations, right? And again, my young lady is educated, so she does have a degree in nursing. Not as if I'm bringing her here without no background, no nothing, right? So having a young lady with a degree, being able to exercise that, or at least, finding some job in that particular career field, it helps to build. Like I said, I'm trying to build something for the both of us. And I think that's where the mindset is for me. Not necessarily saying that's everybody's mindset, but for me, it's all about building up something together, right? And she got to be able to trust you with the movies, right? Because, they do have a tendency to try to send everything home, right? Luckily, I don't have that issue, but, sometimes those issues do come up. So you just got to make sure that you have everything in line and make sure you discuss the plan, right? Talk about the plan. Talk about the plan. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to share, like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a good night, ladies and gentlemen, man. Y'all know what time it is. Time for me to go and get, and y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed, bro. Doc is out. Peace.